Are zombie cells taking over your body, making you age faster and look older? Believe it or not, zombie cells are not science fiction. They are actually real cells in our bodies, creating a lot of harm and a lot of damage. I'm Dr. Mina. I'm a board-certified dermatologist, and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Skin Reel. This is where I give people real information about their skin so that they can make informed and educated decisions about their skin's health. Sound good? Let's get into it. This is my weekly recap episode where I pull out my key takeaways from my recent interview with this week, Dr. Saranya Wyles, who is a dermatologist, a physician scientist leading the way in regenerative medicine. If you want to hear my full episode with Dr. Wyles, be sure to stay tuned to the end of this short video where I will link it. I loved being able to pick her brain because the world of regenerative medicine, this is something that is new even to doctors, and so much is changing all the time. You really have to stay on top of the literature and what's out there. It seems to be moving so quickly. So let's just first break down what is regenerative medicine. So regenerative medicine, it's a cutting edge, it's a rapidly growing field of medicine. And I'll say I really believe this is the future of medicine, where the focus is on repairing, replacing, and recreating damaged tissue and organs. In the past, all we could do would be to either blast things away with toxic things like chemotherapy. Now we started to try to use the body's own immune system. And of course, we have an issue with organs. When someone needs an organ, when their kidneys fail, they have to go on an organ transplant list. And unfortunately, there are just not enough organs for people who need it. And also, there's a lot of side effects from having an organ from another person. So if we can harness regenerative medicine and use it to repair tissue in ourselves, such an amazing field, and so many promises in all of medicine, and especially in skincare and dermatology, helping with chronic wounds that won't heal, of course, anti-aging, keeping people youthful, keeping our skin full of collagen and elastin so that it's healthy, not just for aesthetic reasons, but also for practical reasons, wound healing. If we could repair damaged tissue from sun damage so that we could heal a skin cancer without surgery, my goodness, that would be so amazing. So many potentials in this field of medicine. We are just getting started, and this is something that's going to be in the forefront, I believe. Now, what's cool is that we actually have some regenerative medicine in our toolbox at this moment. And I'm sure people have heard about stem cell therapy. Now, stem cell therapy, for me, especially before I became a doctor, I would think, oh my gosh, this seems a little unethical. You'd hear these horror stories like, are they going to go get aborted tissue to make stem cells? But the reality is stem cells are simply just cells that have the capability of dividing and turning into really anything that we want, anything that the body needs. And we actually have stem cells in our skin, we have stem cells in our hair, we have stem cells in our fat. But the problem is the older we get, they don't work as well as they used to. So younger stem cells are really ideal. Stem cells from things like placenta or umbilical cords, that contains a lot of stem cells. And that is tissue that's actually not currently being used. Once a baby is born, we no longer have a need for that tissue. So this is a cool area that people are looking into. Now, we actually do have some stem cell therapy approved here in the U.S. One is for hematopoietic or blood disorders or blood cancers. And the other one that's not to market yet, but has just been approved, Dr. Wyles let me know, which is really cool, is a topical stem cell cream to help people who have a skin condition where their skin pulls apart and it heals with scarring. And so when it scars, their hands look like this. They have what's called mitten deformities. And if you can imagine living that way with your hands becoming so scarred, they look like this, or your esophagus or your feet, it's really a debilitating condition. It's called epidermolysis bullosa. And I'm so excited that there's a topical cream that can help typically these children. It's really amazing. But That's really what we have for stem cell therapy right now. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, I just drove by a med spa, or I just had a life coach offer me stem cell therapy. And I would just say, buyer beware. That is not approved. Stem cells are someone else's cellular genetic makeup, and it's not something to be messed with. You want to make sure you know what DNA signal those stem cells are going to be giving your body. And it really, at this point, is only approved for those two things. So if you are being offered stem cell therapy for anything else, you really, really need to be careful, because it is completely off-label, and I would be concerned about what you're getting or what you're injecting into your body. At this moment, that's not to say down the road things are going to be available, but they are definitely not available now and not recommended. Now, what's exciting is that stem cells, they're hard to harvest, they're hard to get. There are some potential ethical concerns, but what we found out are exosomes are these little envelopes that carry messages from the stem cells. So if we could package the message into these little exosomes and send them off and still get the same result, maybe we actually don't need the stem cells at all. We just need the messenger with exosomes. And exosomes, this is something that is really starting to take off. But again, just like with stem cells, we don't have things approved right now, especially for injections or even on damaged skin. So right now there are some exosomes for topical use. And again, it's kind of buyer beware, because just because something says exosomes on the packaging doesn't mean that the message you're getting is actually going to work. You need to make sure you're getting it from a reputable company where there's data and studies showing that, yes, these exosomes, the way they've been harvested, the message that's inside there, we know that that message is actually still there after processing. And we know that when you put it on your skin, it's actually going in to your skin, penetrating and doing the things it's saying it's supposed to be doing. The good news is Dr. Wyles talks about a study that Mayo just looked at that showed some topical exosome therapy did work. It did penetrate into the skin and bind to collagen. That paper is not out yet. That's why I don't have it linked. So there is huge potential with this. But again, at least for me personally, I'm waiting until I see actual data showing that exosome message. It's the message that I want to have in my body or on my skin, and that it's actually working. But I do think this is something that's really going to revolutionize skincare and wound healing once we get the data to show. Now, here's something that we do have some data on, albeit sometimes it can be a little bit in flux, but that's platelet-rich plasma therapy. This is where you pull off or draw your own blood, you spin it down, and then you pull off the plasma component, because it is rich in platelets, and platelets have a lot of growth factors and proteins and signaling and cytokines. And when applied to the skin, it can stimulate healing. And this can be used very safely. You can use it after microneedling. Sometimes I will inject it into the skin to help with dark circles under the eyes or even stretch marks. And of course, where I've had the most success is doing it for hair loss and injecting it into people's scalps or eyebrows. It can really help kickstart those hair follicle cells back into that anagen phase and growing again. The issue, however, with PRP or platelet-rich plasma is that our plasma levels can vary and change even between person to person, month to month from when you get them. So it's not super standardized. But yes, we do have studies showing this does work. And this is pretty cool because you're using your own body to help heal itself. So I love that. Those are really the main things that we have now. I've definitely been at talks where people are talking about stem cell therapy to help with hair loss, to help regrow hair. That would be so amazing and so cool. And of course, there's some other therapies that are used more in the cancer realm, things like CAR-T therapy and gene splicing, which is really cool, where you basically take DNA that has a mutation or a message and you want to cut it out, and you can actually cut it out and then put it back together. I can see a ton of applications for regenerative medicine with skin cancer, because we know that as we age and we spend a lot of time in the sun, and a lot of people are immunosuppressed, especially as they get older, that skin cancers are going to be a huge problem. They're already a big problem, but those numbers are going to continue to rise. So if we have ways to treat this for the body to heal itself without having to undergo surgery or radiation or other things. I think that is such a cool thing as well. And then, of course, to keep our skin healthy and youthful, to keep our collagen where it is instead of having that huge drop off. These would be amazing therapies, and people are looking into it. But I would just caveat this, that at this moment, a lot of this stuff is still in development. We still really need those good studies to show that things work. There are a lot of people out there trying to make money off of this, trying to ride the hype and offer essentially snake oil at a very expensive price. So I would just say be very, very careful. People are sort of feeding off our emotions for these things. And certainly in other countries, you can get some of these therapies that aren't approved here. You just have to be careful. You don't want to, A, hurt yourself, hurt your body, and also you don't want to be taken advantage for financially. This was such a great episode. So many pearls with Dr. Wyles. I highly recommend it. If you want to check it out, click on it right here, and I will see you next week.